Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the eastern state of Odisha represents optimism and originality of New India, highlights the investment potential of Make in India, Make in Odisha Conclave 2025 in Bhubaneswar. Tech shares tumble across the US and Europe as China's low-cost DeepSeek sparks worries about the AI race. Trump says the app is a wake-up call for the US industry. Donald Trump calls on the US Congress to boost funding for border security as military reinforces barrier with Mexico. Mexico readies giant tent shelters for the possible influx. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the 38th National Games in Dehradun with a focus on sustainability. The theme this year is Green Games. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 4th edition of Utkarsh Odisha, Make in Odisha Conclave 2025 in Bhubaneswar. Odisha government's flagship global investment summit aims to position the state as the anchor of the Purvodaya vision, as well as a leading investment destination and industrial hub in India. Addressing the business summit, Prime Minister Modi said, Eastern India is the growth engine of the country and Odisha is an important part of it. When India used to have a massive contribution to global growth, India's eastern part had a huge contribution to that, and Odisha used to be the main center of trade with Southeast Asia.
मैं पूर्वी भारत को देश के विकास का ग्रोथ इंजन मानता हूं और ओडिशा की इसमें एक बड़ी भूमिका है। आज इस क्षेत्र में संभावनाओं के इतने द्वार खुल रहे हैं जितने आजादी के बाद पहले कभी नहीं खुले। यही समय है, सही समय है।
Prime Minister Modi also reiterated the importance of indigenous production of development for the nation.
देश की तेज प्रगति सिर्फ रॉ मटेरियल के एक्सपोर्ट पर संभव नहीं है। इसलिए हम पूरे इकोसिस्टम को बदल रहे हैं, नए विजन के साथ काम कर रहे हैं। ओडिशा में जो रिसोर्सेज हैं, उससे जुड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज भी यहीं लगे। इस दिशा में हमारी सरकार काम कर रही है।
Earlier, Prime Minister Modi also inaugurated the Make in Odisha exhibition, highlighting the state's achievements in having a vibrant industrial ecosystem. It will serve as a platform for industry leaders, investors and policymakers to converge and discuss the opportunities Odisha offers as a preferred investment destination. The Make in Odisha Conclave is hosting CEOs, leaders roundtables, sectoral sessions, B2B meetings and policy discussions, ensuring targeted engagement with investors across the globe. More than 7,000 delegates, including envoys, investors and industrialists from India and 12 other countries, are expected to participate in the Business Conclave. The two-day Business Conclave will conclude on 29th of January. DD India's Amit Mukherjee joins us live from Odisha now. This is Prime Minister Modi's second visit to Odisha this month. Amit, he attended the Prasar Bharati Divas celebrations on the 9th of this month at the same venue. Tell us, how bright are the prospects for Odisha?
Well, Tanvi, the very fact that this is Prime Minister's second visit in a month itself shows the fact that Odisha at this point in time is a very, very important state as far as India is concerned. So today in this conclave, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after inaugurating it, actually put Odisha on a pedestal on a global map where it can offer itself to the global investors. You know, it has now been, it will be over the next 2 days inviting a lot of, Odisha will be having a lot of discussions with investors who are here in India. In fact, 20 countries, various leaders, business leaders from 20 different countries, which includes Australia, Germany, US, UK, Poland, you know, they are all out here. So Odisha will be offered to them as a very prized investment destination. And apart from that, you know, Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took this opportunity to give out a very, very important message also, that by relying only on exports it's not enough. At this point in time, you have to get into value addition. The other important thing he said, that India at some point in time will have to create a self-sustainable supply chain ecosystem. It should not rely on the global supply systems of the world, and it should create a supply system that would be isolated from all the ups and downs of the global anomalies that are happening. So very important message again. I mean, not only we need to focus on manufacturing, but also there is an important a very, very important need to create a supply chain system so that the entire process of manufacturing, the economic activities within the country are not disrupted. Now, Prime Minister's this comment comes from the fact, if you recall, about 2 weeks back, there has been a lot of disruptions from the Chinese side, where a lot of imports of restrictions have been put in on a lot of import from China, and which are very, very essential as far as manufacturing in India is concerned. Which is why he is making this statement that creating a very, very sustainable supply chain ecosystem is also very important. So, of course, yes, Odisha will now be highlighted on a global platform as a prime investment destination because it's very rich in minerals. It has got all bauxite, it has got iron ore, it has got copper. So in a way it's a mineral resource state. Yeah. Apart from that, it has got a lot to offer in terms of renewable energy, in textiles, in IT, information. A lot of companies have put in their hubs out here in Odisha as far as information technology is concerned, and textiles. Of course, textiles of Odisha is very important, and so is food packaging. Now, Odisha is one of the states which is known for its fantastic cuisine, very good sweets. So, and food processing also then becomes equally important, so that the things which are manufactured out here in Odisha are actually served across the world. Okay. For which, you should have a very sustainable, elaborate food packaging system. Okay. So yes, a lot of things have been, put on the platter. Over the next 2 days, deliberations will be there. And of course, Odisha is now a key destination as far as investment is concerned. Okay, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. Amit Mukherjee reporting from Odisha, the Global Investment Conclave there. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to US President Donald Trump on Monday and discussed expanding and deepening cooperation and issues including security in the Indo-Pacific, the situation in West Asia and Ukraine. Both the leaders reiterated their commitment to work together for promoting global peace, prosperity and security. They discussed various facets of the wide-ranging bilateral, comprehensive global strategic partnership and measures to advancing it, including in the areas of technology, trade, investment, energy and defense. The two leaders exchanged views on global issues, including the situation in West Asia and Ukraine, and reiterated their commitment to work together for promoting global peace, prosperity and security. The leaders agreed to remain in touch and meet soon at an early, mutually convenient date. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who is on a 3-day visit to the UAE, addressed the inaugural session of Raisina Middle East in Abu Dhabi on Tuesday. In his keynote address, Dr. Jaishankar emphasized the deep impact the region has had on India.
The history of India and the Middle East are inextricably linked. Whether it is commerce or connectivity, ideas and beliefs or customs and traditions, we have actually seen an interplay over centuries. Interestingly, although India has influenced its extended neighborhood in all directions, the one to our west has actually had the deepest impact on our own society.
Minister Jaishankar also stated that West Asia holds strategic significance for India, describing India's presence in the Gulf as pervasive and crucial.
This is a region crucial to India's strategic interests. Many of you would be familiar with the intensity of India's ties with the Gulf. Our trade is in the region of about 160 to 180 billion dollars annually. The energy dimension is the most visible one, but there is much more to it than that. Whether it is projects, technology, education, health, or services, our presence in the Gulf is both pervasive and crucial.
Dr. S. Jaishankar also discussed India's growing interest in the region, highlighting the symbiotic relationship between India and the Gulf.
We have significant interests in fertilizers, energy, water, diamonds, defense, and cyber. Our projects include airports, ports, railways, phosphates, green hydrogen, steel, and submarine cables. Material factors aside, this larger geography is a very critical connect between the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic. And as our history underlines, there is a symbiotic relationship between us. We certainly have stakes. These stakes are rising continually.
Earlier, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar held a warm and wide-ranging discussion with UAE's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The two leaders discussed the positive trajectory of the comprehensive strategic partnership and its further expansion. They also shared perspectives on the regional and global situation. DD India's DV Vinod joins us live on the story now. Vinod, what's the latest on the three-day visit by the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar?
Hi, Tanvi. This is the 11th visit of our External Affairs Minister to this country post-2019. And this comes at a crucial time when there is peace in this region. There's Gaza ceasefire, the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. And yesterday, he addressed the Republic Day celebrations hosted by the Indian Embassy, and he said that India and UAE are strengthening their partnership in a rapidly changing world. And he also highlighted the challenges of the shifting global order, calling it at a time it's an more complexity and an opportunity. He emphasized the true friendship that is being forged in times of this moment, and the India-UAE relation is a shining example of that. And he attributed this to the joint vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of UAE. And he also mentioned in detail about how the Indian community, which is 4 million strong, plays a key role in enhancing this relation, and the strength of our tourists, which around 4.5 million arriving in the UAE, is acting as a cultural bridge. Later today, he addressed the inaugural session of the Raisina Middle East Dialogue, and he's also said to have a bilateral meeting with the Sheikh Ali, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, who had earlier visited India last year, and signing a series of MOUs with which included nuclear cooperation between India and the UAE. Today, at the Raisina Dialogue in Abu Dhabi, he mentioned how our relationship is intertwined deeply, and he also mentioned 8 important points which is reshaping the global order, which one of them includes the departure from the world's Wilsonian foreign policy of the United States, the competitive dynamics between United States and China, how technology is changing the world, the frequent weaponization of market shares, finance, and again the regionalization of power. This Raisina Dialogue is a 2-day event. Our EAM will be participating the entire day today, and he'll depart tomorrow after his meetings in the morning. So this is actually the brief of EAM's visit in UAE.
Okay, thank you very much, DV Vinod, joining us from Dubai. India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal is on the last leg of his Oman visit. The minister met key business leaders from Oman at the Business Roundtable hosted by the Ambassador of India. In a social media post, Minister Goyal said that the meeting was a perfect opportunity to highlight India's growth story. He also emphasized how robust infrastructure development, business-friendly policies and economic reforms have positioned India as a leading investment destination. The leaders also explored avenues to foster stronger business ties between India and Oman. Earlier in the day, Goyal met with Oman's Minister of Finance, Sultan bin Salim Al Habsi. The minister said that the pair explored avenues to enhance India-Oman economic cooperation, expand investment opportunities and strengthen financial mechanisms to boost our bilateral partnership. Railway services in Bangladesh have been suspended since Tuesday morning due to an indefinite strike by running staff, including train, drivers, guards and ticket checkers. This is to demand special post-retirement benefits, including the inclusion of running allowances in pension calculations. The strike began after failed negotiations between railway authorities and staff unions. As a result, trains scheduled to depart after midnight were cancelled, causing significant inconvenience to the passengers. Meanwhile, Railways Ministry Advisor Mohammad Fawzul Kabir Khan said that the Bangladesh Road Transport Corporation buses have been arranged for some routes to help passengers. He added that the government is open to discuss and address the demands of the protesting train drivers and their associates. You're watching DD India News. Still to come on the show. US President Donald Trump signs an executive order to remove, quote, transgender ideology from the military forces. Third batch of Israeli hostages due to be released by Hamas in the ceasefire deal. And Congo's president holds a meeting as tensions escalate in Goma.
What is behind this bonhomie between India and Indonesia? What are the main factors driving this relationship in different dimensions? And what is the impact of this special friendship on our region?
So in my opinion, India is really great.
It's time for the South country to become the leader of the world, not from North or not from West.
I think Indian's culture is famous in Indonesia.
Indonesia and India should be a natural partner that we can build on a stronger foundation.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I am Tanvi Taneja. Just a week after taking charge as US President for the second time, Donald Trump signed 4 executive orders on Monday that reverse several Biden administration's initiatives related to the military. The first order signed by Trump was an executive order reinstating members of the military who were terminated or forced to separate because of the vaccine mandates. The second was an executive order establishing a process to develop an American Iron Dome, a comprehensive missile defense shield to land in the American homeland. The third executive order that President Trump signed relates to eliminating gender radicalism in the military, while the fourth is about eliminating diversity, equity and inclusion, or DEI, that set aside offices within the military. In addition to these items, Trump signed a proclamation commemorating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Further, Trump also signed an executive order to remove transgender ideology from the military in a potentially major setback for the LGBTQ+ rights. Trump in his order claimed that the armed forces have been afflicted with radical gender ideology to appease activists and that many mental and physical health conditions are incompatible with active duty. With around 15,000 transgender troops in the US military, their dismissal would reduce forces. He also ordered the construction of a US version of Israel's Iron Dome and reinstated service members dismissed for refusing the COVID vaccine. Now, the US military has deployed Marines to the US-Mexico border to reinforce the barrier and curb illegal immigration. This move is part of the Trump administration's efforts to address the issue. The deployment of Marines to the border has sparked controversy, with some critics arguing that it is a militarization of the border. However, US officials maintain that the move is necessary to ensure national security and enforce immigration laws. During the GOP event, Donald Trump on Monday said that he wants Congress to pass a bill that includes an increase in funding to secure the country's borders.
In the coming weeks, I'm looking forward to working with Congress on a reconciliation bill that financially takes care of our plans to totally and permanently restore the sovereign borders of the United States once and for all. This should include full funding for a record increase in border security personnel and retention bonuses for ICE and Border Patrol.
While Mexican authorities are preparing for potential deportations by setting up temporary shelters in Ciudad Juarez, these shelters will have the capacity to house thousands of people and should be ready in a matter of days. In a strategy called Mexico Embraces You, authorities will provide deported Mexicans with food, temporary housing, medical care and assistance in obtaining identity documents at sight. Nearly 5 million Mexicans are living in the United States without authorization. US President Donald Trump forged ahead with military deportation flights on Monday, sending another plane load of migrants to Guatemala a day after coming to the brink of a trade war with Colombia after it refused to let C-17 aircraft land. The aircraft landed in Guatemala on Monday afternoon after a flight from Texas had 64 people on board. The flight is the third to have successfully landed in Guatemala since the start of a military operation of these flights last week. To date, Guatemala appears to be the only country to have received military flights with migrants. The use of US military aircraft to carry out deportation flights is a part of Pentagon's response to Trump's national emergency declaration on immigration last week. Billionaire hedge fund manager Scott Bessent won the Senate approval on Monday to become the US Treasury Secretary. He cleared the confirmation vote by 68-29. This win has placed him at the forefront of implementing Donald Trump's economic agenda, which is already triggering global jitters. Bessent has defended the Republican president's tax-cutting and tariff proposals while urging efforts to secure supply chains and the dollar's global status. Denmark revealed plans to invest 14.6 billion Danish crowns to boost its military presence in the Arctic on Monday, responding to US President Donald Trump's renewed interest in controlling Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory. Defense Minister Troels Poulsen said that the broad political agreement includes funding of 3 new Arctic Navy vessels, 2 additional long-range drones and satellites for improved surveillance. Following more than a decade of drastic cuts in defense spending last year, Denmark allocated 190 billion Danish crowns for its military over a 10-year span, some of which will be for the Arctic. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at Madrid's Moncloa Palace on Monday. Rutte urged NATO members to exceed the 2% spending goal of defense, citing new challenges that make it insufficient. NATO figures show Spain spent $22.27 billion on defense in 2024, the 10th largest contribution, but it amounts to only 1.28% of its GDP, the lowest in relative terms among NATO allies. While these NATO figures show that the US spent 3.38% of GDP last year on defense. An overnight Russian airstrike on Ukraine injured 4 people, igniting a fire at a private business and caused damage to multiple homes in Kharkiv on Monday night. 2 seniors were injured after debris from a destroyed Russian drone damaged several houses in the Kharkiv district. Emergency services responded shortly after midnight to extinguish a fire at the private business caused by the drone attack. In the southeastern region of Zaporozhye, 2 men and 2 women were injured in Russian strikes. Over the past 24 hours, Russia carried out 362 attacks on settlements in the area. Drone strikes also targeted the Black Sea port city of Odessa, damaging several residential buildings and vehicles. On to West Asia now. Tens of thousands of Palestinians headed north to return home on Tuesday, streaming along Gaza's Mediterranean coast as part of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. On the second day since 2 key crossing points were opened on Monday, large crowds of displaced Palestinians carrying infants and bundles of belongings trekked northwards on foot. Earlier on Monday, Hamas said that more than 300,000 people had crossed into Gaza City and the northern edge of the enclave. Their return, which had been delayed over the weekend, proceeded after Hamas agreed to hand over 3 Israeli hostages this week, and Israeli forces began withdrawing from a main corridor across the enclave under terms of an agreement on the ceasefire that ended the 15 months of conflict. President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, held an inter-institutional government meeting on Monday on the attempt by rebel forces to capture the city of Goma. The meeting was attended by heads of constitutional bodies and they discussed ways to restore authority and humanitarian issues in Goma. Speaker of the National Assembly added that Tshisekedi would address the nation without mentioning any further details.
Not a single inch of Congolese territory will be given up to the enemies of the Congolese people. The President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi, remains intransigent in this matter. On January 27, 2025, an inter-institutional meeting was held by the head of state at his office in the African Union city and was devoted to the situation in the east of the country, while the FARDC foiled the attempt to take the city of Goma by the M23 terrorists supported by the Rwandan army.
Nous avons exploré les voies et moyens.
Meanwhile, at least 17 people were killed and 370 others injured in clashes in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo's besieged city of Goma as the Congolese military fought to hold off M23 forces backed by the Rwandan army. 5 civilians were killed across the Rwandan border after artillery fire and gunshots were heard across the major hub in Congo's mineral-rich east. The recent fighting has displaced hundreds of thousands of people that sought refuge in Goma and surrounding camps. The capture of Goma marked a significant escalation in the conflict, with gunfire and looting reported throughout the city. The M23 resurfaced in late 2021 after years of dormancy and began seizing large swathes of North Kivu province. But fighting with the Congolese military has intensified since early this year in the latest chapter of internal and cross-border violence, which has dogged the eastern Congo region for 3 decades. Thousands of Cubans filled the streets of Havana with light on Monday night during the traditional March of the Torches, commemorating the birth of national hero Jose Marti. The procession was led by Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel and former President Raul Castro. They were joined by government officials and members of the historic generation, a term referencing those who lived through or participated in the Cuban Revolution of the 1959. The march, primarily made up of students carrying lit torches and Cuban flags, is held each year on the eve of Marti's birthday. The procession follows a route from the steps of the University of Havana to the Fragua Martiana, a former prison-turned-museum where Marti was once held. And next we take a look at other news around the world. At least 5 people were killed in a shooting at a plumbing equipment warehouse in San Juan in Puerto Rico on Monday during a meeting at the warehouse. The local report said that the victims comprised 2 women and 3 men, one of whom was the gunman and reportedly died by suicide. A boat sinking off Chile's southern coast resulted in death of 6 and 32 survivors. The authorities issued a statement indicating that the boat was over its load capacity, lacked appropriate safety equipment, and the captain had violated protocol by not being accompanied by a trained boat operator. Authorities have detained the boat's captain, who may face manslaughter charges. A 23-year-old office worker from Japan is captivating audiences with his passion for Peking opera. Fascinated by Chinese history and culture, Kobayashi honed his skills over 5 years, performing in over 20 shows across Tokyo. You're with us on DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. Chinese startup DeepSeek sparks AI stocks sell-off globally. Nvidia posts record market cap loss. We dissect the story with the help of our expert. Trump says Microsoft eyeing TikTok bid, with the app's future in the US uncertain. And experiencing the Maha Kumbh, over 15 million devotees take holy dip at Sangam in Prayagraj on Monday.
geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Tanvi Taneja. A quick relook of the headlines we're tracking at this hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the eastern state of Odisha represents optimism and originality of New India, highlights the investment potential of Make in Odisha Conclave 2025 in Bhubaneswar. Tech shares tumble across the United States and Europe as China's low-cost DeepSeek sparks worries about the AI race. Trump says the app is a wake-up call for the US industry. And Donald Trump calls on the US Congress to boost funding for border security as military reinforces barrier with Mexico. Mexico readies giant tent shelters for the possible influx. So a seismic shift in the world of artificial intelligence is shaking up global tech markets. The release of DeepSeek, a low-cost AI model from China, has taken the industry by storm, sparking a stock market sell-off and leaving US tech giants reeling. But what makes DeepSeek different and why is it causing such a stir? Let's dive in.
A week after its launch in the United States, DeepSeek's AI-powered chatbot has become the most downloaded free app on Apple Store. Developed by the Hangzhou-based startup, DeepSeek is gaining global attention for its advanced features and affordability. The app's sudden popularity, coupled with its cost efficiency, sent shockwaves through the financial markets. Nvidia, a key supplier of chips powering AI models, saw its stock plummet 17%, wiping out over $590 billion in market value. The Nasdaq Composite fell 3.1%, while the S&P 500 slid 1.5%, reversing last week's record highs. DeepSeek's efficiency comes at a fraction of the cost of US-based AI models. Its R1 model is reportedly 20 to 50 times cheaper than OpenAI's comparable models, which has raised concerns about the competitiveness of US investments in AI, including the recently announced $500 billion Stargate initiative by President Donald Trump.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with, hopefully, the same solution.
But there are lots of AI models out there from OpenAI, Google, Meta, and others. So what's the big deal with DeepSeek? DeepSeek is designed to be affordable, transparent, and accessible. Unlike existing models, it allows users to run AI locally on their own devices, bypassing reliance on expensive servers. Its chatbot even articulates its reasoning before providing responses, distinguishing it from competitors like ChatGPT. Despite its rapid success, DeepSeek faces challenges. Social media users have highlighted censorship issues in the chatbot, particularly regarding sensitive topics about China. While this may hinder its global adoption, the Chinese government's support for AI development could fuel further advancements. DeepSeek's rise has already rattled US markets. Analysts warn that low-cost Chinese alternatives could disrupt the AI ecosystem, forcing companies to rethink their strategies. Hardware manufacturers and chip makers essential to AI's supply chain may feel the squeeze as the competitive landscape shifts. DeepSeek's reliance on older, less powerful hardware poses a long-term hurdle. To compete with US giants like OpenAI and Google, it might need to close the compute gap. something that could become increasingly tough under the current US export restrictions. As the global AI race heats up, one thing is clear. DeepSeek has set a new benchmark for accessibility and efficiency, challenging the dominance of US tech giants and reshaping the future of artificial intelligence. But whether it can sustain its momentum in the face of political and technological challenges remains to be seen. Bureau Report, DD India.
Subimal Bhattacharjee, IT and technology expert, joins us on the story now. Welcome, sir, to the program. So before we take up the other implications of the emergence of DeepSeek, your view on the rout in the Nasdaq Composite Index, which largely reflects the movement of tech stocks and which slumped 3% yesterday, led by a 17% fall in Nvidia. Also, a word on the dumping of tech stocks globally.
Yeah, I think, Tanvi, this is quite a interesting moment because you see that a disruptor has suddenly emerged on the same day that Donald Trump took over as the president of the US. And in that particular week, he announced a $500 billion effort around generative AI. Now, here is one Chinese company set up by a youngster just 2 years back, coming up with one of those foundational model which is able to disrupt everything because it promises that it's more transparent, it's openness. And here, the whole world is now talking for the last couple of years about responsible AI and, how do you look at the bias, how to handle the algorithms, all of that stuff. So I think the impact on the stock markets, on the hardware stock and the high performance computing, the chips, all of that allows such kind of processing to happen, that allows the large language models to operate. I think they all have seen a crash. I think it is still too early to think that bubble kind of a thing around AI has come, but definitely the benchmarks are going to change, and hopefully from a consumer's perspective, if they are able to get cheaper models to work on and get their answers and responses, I think that's a better sign. But for now, for some time, there's definitely going to be disruption. We have the Action AI Summit in Paris, which the French government is hosting, and our Prime Minister is the co-host. I think that's going to be a lot of discussion around how do you look at this space and what all still more disruptive could be seen in the near future.
Okay. What does DeepSeek's emergence do to the leadership of the United States in the AI field? And also, how is the US government and also the US AI companies like NVIDIA likely to respond to the very serious challenges posed by DeepSeek here?
Well, very interestingly, NVIDIA has come out with a very supportive statement saying, that what they have done, they have built on, the base models. And so that's a good science, and it helps the industry. But if you look at the larger perspective, where a big number of, US tech companies are investing heavily in this area, I think for them, it's a big wake-up call to look at it, as President Trump himself said yesterday. So there is a worry, there is this flux that has already started. The markets are one thing that is visible, but behind in the tech industry leadership and the community, the fact of the matter that DeepSeek could do something at almost 100 the cost and all, this is the worrying part, because it rattles a lot of investments that are now going in the generative artificial intelligence and the large language models per se, which also brings Tanvi to the point of that the geopolitics that has been emerging around the tech ecosystem, where America has been denying Chinese technology right since President Biden brought in the CHIPS Act 3 years back. So this again is going on in a direction.
Yeah. So what does it mean for China economically? Does it shift back the pendulum to China? And also tell us what it means for the rest of the world in terms of the AI industry.
Well, for China, I think there are sometimes you have to see that an opportunity has come, a challenge has come, so they are trying to make advantage or trying to build up on their engineering talents and the rare earth materials, and also they might themselves find ways and means to advance their chip ecosystem. And for other countries also, this is a kind of a wake-up call to think that the reliance on these large language models, the artificial intelligence models, to be able to help in various deliveries, the force multiplier impact that today this promises. But if you are dependent upon the LLMs of companies, that tomorrow could switch off or turn off, or you getting into the geopolitical tangle in this, for that we need all to build up our own LLMs, particularly for India's perspective. I would think that one of the biggest mention or the lesson here is to see that we go faster and build up our own large language models. We have the talents available. We have the policy direction from the government. It's looking very much at the high performance computing side, the semiconductor chips manufacturing the country. So beyond that, with the focus on artificial intelligence, I think we have to look at our own large language models very quickly.
Fair enough. Very quickly, sir, are there any implications for security for both persons and nations that use DeepSeek about sensitive data becoming accessible to Chinese AI and software companies?
Well, this always remains a concern, because you still do not know, where all the data that is being collected, gathered, or even generated are getting stored. But since this is a model that is trained on available data, so I don't think it's becoming a newer challenge. The existing challenge that remains, that is what possibly is getting dissipated in a little bit different fashion.
Okay. For now, it has disrupted markets, and one needs to see how the rules of the game will be rewritten, as you say. Thank you very much, Shubhimal Bhattacharjee, for joining us on TD India News Now. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump on Monday said that Microsoft was in talks to acquire the social media app TikTok shortly after it went dark last week. He further suggested that he would like to see a bidding war over the popular platform. TikTok, which has about 170 million American users, was briefly taken offline just before a law requiring its Chinese owner ByteDance to either sell it on national security grounds or face a ban that took effect on January 19th. Trump, after taking office on January 20th, signed an executive order seeking to delay by 75 days the enforcement of the law. Back to India now. Indian Railways has achieved a major milestone by upgrading over 23,000 kilometers of track to support train speeds of up to 130 kilometers per hour. The development is a part of the government's broader effort to modernize the rail network, improving connectivity and reducing travel times for passengers. The upgrades include strengthening tracks and implementing advanced signaling systems and adding safety measures like fencing at vulnerable locations. In 2024-25 fiscal, Indian Railways reported a 4% rise in earnings with a 2% increase in capital expenditure. Indian Railways is also focusing on adopting new technologies, enhancing infrastructure and improving passenger amenities. India's central bank, Reserve Bank of India's Governor Sanjay Malhotra met with top executives of public and private sector banks on Monday in the western Indian city of Mumbai in Maharashtra. The governor highlighted global vulnerabilities and risks. He urged banks to maintain financial stability, increase financial inclusion, improve digital literacy and enhance credit availability, strengthen customer service, invest in technology, prevent digital frauds, enhance IT risk management, along with enhancing cyber security. The governor also sought suggestions from banks on improving the ease of doing business, emphasizing the need for close collaboration between the central bank and other banks. And next we have all the news from the Maha Kumbh, the largest religious congregation in the world. An overwhelming rush of devotees has flooded the Maha Kumbh Mela ahead of Mauni Amavasya on Wednesday. Anticipating the rush on Mauni Amavasya, the most auspicious day of the Hindu calendar, the local administration has blocked the movement of traffic towards the Mela site till January 30th. Meanwhile, over 15 million people took a dip at the confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati rivers on Monday. According to a statement released by the Uttar Pradesh government, over 150 million people have taken the holy dip since the commencement of this grand celebration of culture, Indian culture, on January 13th. A popular association with Maha Kumbh is losing loved ones in the sea of humanity. However, this year, pilgrims may be getting separated, but getting truly lost is a thing of the past. The 2025 festival has been branded the Digital Maha Kumbh by the Indian government. We'll tell you why. DD India's Akshay Dongre reports from Prayagraj.
Devotees waiting patiently to get information of their friends and family members who have gotten separated at the world's largest religious congregation, Maha Kumbh in Prayagraj city in India. Over 100 million people have so far attended Maha Kumbh, and even larger number of devotees is expected to attend the congregation in the upcoming days. Amid this ocean of people, the largest concern remains to unite people who often get separated or lost in the city. To address this issue, the government has set up computerized lost and found centers that are run 24/7. These centers are using various technologies to provide respite to people, including live translation, artificial intelligence and biometric identification. 80-year-old Ram Prasad, who got lost at Kumbh, speaks to the workers at the Lost and Found Center to reunite with his family. He calls such center essential at such a large congregation. The workers at the center claim they have reunited over 1,000 people who got separated with their family members and thousands who have an item at the Maha Kumbh.
Hosting the world's largest congregation comes with its own set of challenges, and one of the key challenges is to reunite people who often get lost in such a huge gathering. Now, Kumbh is held at a place where there is a confluence of rivers, River Ganga, River Yamuna and Saraswati as well. And at the same place, this time around, the authorities have made sure that it also becomes a confluence of faith and technology to ensure a smooth Maha Kumbh experience for the several hundred million devotees that are going to come here, not only from India, but from around the world. With camera person Vinay Kumar Tiwari, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. India to take on England in the third T20 match in Rajkot on Tuesday. And India celebrates the legacy of one of its most inspiring freedom fighters, Lala Lajpat Rai.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. What's highest on industry's wish list, if I have to ask you?
So highest in the industry's growth list is to see how we can, on the day the budget gets presented, we are able to say that this is a...
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. An incident of firing by the Sri Lankan Navy during the apprehension of 13 Indian fishermen in the proximity of the Delft Island was reported in the early hours of this morning. Out of the 13 fishermen who were on board the fishing vessel, 2 have sustained serious injuries and are currently receiving treatment at the Jaffna Teaching Hospital. 3 other fishermen received minor injuries and have been treated for the same. Indian consulate officials in Jaffna have visited the injured fishermen at the hospital to seek their welfare and are extending all possible assistance to the fishermen and their families. The Sri Lankan Acting High Commissioner in New Delhi was called this morning to the Ministry of External Affairs and a strong protest was lodged over the incident. Indian High Commission in Colombo has also raised the matter with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Sri Lankan government. The government of India has always emphasized the need to treat issues pertaining to fishermen in a humane manner, keeping in mind livelihood concerns of these fishermen. The use of force is not acceptable under any circumstances whatsoever. Existing understandings between the two governments in this regard must be strictly observed, as has been reported. And on to sporting action now. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the 38th National Games in India's northern state of Uttarakhand on Tuesday. The Games will run until February 14th and will feature around 10,000 athletes competing in 32 different sporting disciplines across 11 venues in the state. DD India's Narayan Singh brings us this report from Uttarakhand.
This is the venue where the opening ceremony of the 38th edition of the National Games will take place, and PM Modi will declare the Games open on 28th of January. And it will be a grand opening ceremony, and the state of Uttarakhand, which is known for its scenic beauty, is now emerging as the sporting destination of the country. And more than 10,000 athletes, coaches and officials will take part in this mega event. And we know that the National Games of India is an Olympic style event where in this edition of the National Games 32 competitive sports are there and 4 demonstrative sports are there. So it's the blend of tradition and modern game. So it will be a unique experience for the state of Uttarakhand. And if you talk about the state, it has given many renowned athletes to the country, and definitely it will give a big push to the sporting aspiration of Uttarakhand. And definitely it's going to be a mega event, and preparations are on full swing for the opening ceremony of the Games. With camera person Manmohan, Narayan Singh, DD India, Dehradun.
So few hours left for the opening ceremony of India's National Games in Uttarakhand. Moving on, India will hope to take unassailable lead when they take on England in the 3rd T20 cricket match in Rajkot on Tuesday. The hosts have established a commanding 2-0 lead in the 5-match series after convincing wins. They found success with their deep batting lineup and a spin-heavy bowling attack. The hosts have showcased their dominance in both batting and bowling departments, while England have decided to back their pace battery. They have announced an unchanged side for the 3rd match. England have shown glimpses of brilliance but have struggled to maintain consistency, particularly against the Indian spinners. Brazilian star Neymar and his club Al Hilal have agreed to terminate contract by mutual consent. The club expressed its thanks and appreciation to Neymar for what he has provided throughout his career with Al Hilal and wished the player success in his career. The 32-year-old played just 7 times since joining the club in 2023. 2 months after his arrival in Riyadh, he ruptured a ligament in his left knee while playing for Brazil in a World Cup qualifier in October 2023, which kept him on the sidelines for a year. The Delhi SG Pipers ended their Hockey India campaign winless as they fell to a 1-2 loss against the Shrachi Rab Bengal Tigers in Rourkela on Monday. The Pipers scored first via Thomas Dumain, but their hopes of a first win in their last match were shattered as Rupinder Pal Singh and Sebastian Dokier scored within minutes of each other in the final quarter to take the Tigers to the top of the table. Surma Hockey Club secured a hard-fought 5-3 victory against Vedanta Kalinga Lancers in the Men's Hockey India League in Rourkela. Dilpreet Singh gave the Lancers the lead in the game, but Prabjot Singh restored parity for Surma. Harmanpreet Singh and Nicholas Keenan extended Surma's lead with quick-fire goals in the 3rd quarter. However, Thierry Brinkman pulled a goal back towards the end of the quarter. Maninder Singh and Harmanpreet Singh found the back of the net to extend Surma's lead to 5-2, and even though Gurshahbit Singh pulled a goal back in the dying minutes, but Surma walked away with 3 crucial points. India celebrates the legacy of one of its most inspiring freedom fighters, Lala Lajpat Rai, often referred to as the Lion of Punjab. Known for his fiery spirit and unwavering dedication to the freedom struggle, Rai's life story is a tale of resilience, patriotism and sacrifice. Here's a closer look at the man who became a symbol of India's quest for independence.
Born on 28th of January 1865 in a small village of Punjab, Lala Lajpat Rai, a renowned lawyer, turned into one of India's most prominent freedom fighters. His leadership and unwavering resolve earned him the title of Punjab Kesari, or the Lion of Punjab. Rai was a driving force behind India's early nationalist movement. As part of the iconic Lal Bal Pal trio, with Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal, he championed the Swadeshi movement. The movement called on Indians to boycott British goods and embrace locally made products, sparking a wave of economic and cultural pride. Lajpat Rai's contribution went far beyond politics. He was instrumental in establishing the Punjab National Bank and the Dayanand Anglo-Vedic College, institution that remained the cornerstone of India's economy and education system till date. His vision extended to empowering society through knowledge and self-reliance. In 1928, Rai led a massive protest against the Simon Commission, a British delegation formed without any Indian representation. During a peaceful march in Lahore, Rai was critically injured in a brutal lathi charge by the British police. Even in pain, his defiance was clear. And I quote, "Every blow on my body will be a nail in the coffin of the British rule," unquote. Lala Lajpat Rai succumbed to his injuries on the 17th of November in 1928, but his sacrifice became a rallying cry for India's freedom movement. His legacy as a fearless leader and visionary continues to inspire generations to come. Dibyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.